uh, each other, picking up one verse and using it against their adversaries, and those answering back with some other verses and so on and so forth, to prove their own sectarian, beliefs. The sectarian differences were sown in academic circles to the extent that one group would not go and be in the discourse of others, or to the extent that they would not say their prayers behind each other, or to the extent that the mosques themselves were divided into one mosque pertaining this group, one mosque pertaining that group, and so it became crystallized on the Muslim side. Even though the mosques are by definition the place of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no difference whether the mosque is of a certain has a certain following, certain persuasion, certain sect or not, doesn't make a difference. A mosque is a mosque is a mosque. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these are the places of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then the sectarian fight was so intense that even today we find as a Shiite mosque, a Sunni mosque, a Wahhabi mosque, a mosque of this, a mosque of that. Even though it's mosque of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basically it's no one else. Mosque belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yet we see those divisions. So each group, clung to its own definition, interpretation, and explanation of the verse, and against those who are their adversaries. This confrontation also made people prejudiced against each other. I would not like to go into details, but you will see that in the explanation of many verses in the Quran, that when you were attacking an adversary and you picked up a verse, it showed at times your attitude, your disdain for others, and here in great scholars it became evident. Unfortunately, it became not. The differences, magnified, and the battles were fought. Arguments were made. For example, that's one question that I talked about, that is Quran eternal or not, became a bone of contention between hundreds of thousands of Muslims in academic circles and other places. It took many decades to go over it. For the followers of Al-Wad, it was much simpler, because when this question was raised to one of our imams, Imam Al-Qazim al-Islam, seventh Imam, he said clearly, only Allah is eternal, everything else is a creation. It's Quran, the Prophet, the universe, whatever it is. Eternal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the rest is creation. The third group of people, the philosophers, have the same syndrome, same suffering, same disease. They try to fit the verses of Quran on the principles of Greek philosophy and what was translated from those dead languages into Arabic. Trying to justify whatever the Greek philosophy was. Greek philosophy was usually pertaining to mathematics, natural sciences, divinity, and what we call civics or social sciences and these types of arts. If a verse from Quran seemed to be against any of these, it was tried to explain it in a different way. For example, the verses describing metaphysical subjects, those explaining the Genesis and the creation of heaven and earth, those concerned with life after death, those resurrections, paradise and hell, were distorted to conform to Greek mythology. This was conjecture. Okay. The Muslim philosophers felt no remorse in treating the Greek views regarding skies and heavens, orbits and digital elements as final and as something that could be explained otherwise if Quran did not agree with it. For example, in Surah Yasin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the sun and its path, the moon and its course. Now, does the sun really move? For centuries, Greek mythology had it that the sun and the solar system were actually moving around the earth. That the earth was the center of solar system. Quran has it otherwise. Yet somehow or other, Muslim philosophers who were trying to explain these things did not look to the Quranic viewpoint. They clung on to the Greek viewpoint. And in the Muslim world at that time, you had, design of solar system available. In Egypt and other places, where they had a model of Earth in the middle and the stars and suns around, the planets around. One of them, told of Medina, visiting, Kahira and Damesh, brought from those places some models like that. And at that time, Imam Sadiq al-Islam was probably in his teens. And his model was presented in Medina. And he rejected it. He said this is against the pronouncement of Quran. So there was a body of people who were willing to take what the philosophical view in Greek mythology was and present it as reality, even though the verses of Quran would contradict it. And to get rid of that contradiction, they would try to explain it in a different way. So as to make Quran conform to what Greek mythology was. Distortion, conjecture. The fourth group of people, the Sufis, kept their eyes on something higher. Esoteric aspects of creation. Many times they are too much occupied with the inner self, that they could not look to the outer world. This creates, even though you are supposed to purify your inner self, but inner purity does not come with outer disease. It does not. The purity is both ways, outer self as well as inner self. But their vision was tunnel-like. It was a tunnel vision, and this prevented them from seeing anything beyond in terms of reality. Their love for aesthetic made them look for interpretations that would give some meanings to their inner feelings, some manifestation regarding what they understood to be right.